Okay, bear with me, I'm just getting things sorted out. Just setting up a second laptop so I can follow the live stream myself. Hopefully I'll get that done before too many people turn up. Of course I need to mute the laptop so I don't hear myself coming out of the speakers, which is always good. And also make the screen smaller so I can see the live stream chat, which again is always good. Okay, so we're going to fly from London City over to Geneva, and I've sketched out the route in Little Nav Map, which is pretty straightforward. Fly at 25, actually yeah, not 10,000 feet, and we're not doing VFR. So for argument's sake, we're going to do all this manually anyway, but we'll just save the flight plan. So there's the basic route we're going to follow. I've just put a couple of VORs in the middle so it's not just a direct route. We're going to go over into Navigraph and program it up as well, just so you see how Navigraph works in case you've never seen Navigraph. So we're going to give the flight a name, so EGLC to LSGG, which is the ICAO codes for London City and Geneva. You don't have to call them that, you can call a flight whatever you want in Navigraph. IFR, so instrument flight rules, 25,000 feet cruising altitude, so we're taking off from EGLC, which is London City, and we're going to land at LSGG, Lima Sierra Golf Golf, which is Geneva. So there you go, it's sketched in the route across Europe now. Okay, so we are going to take off runway 09 from London City. We are also going to use the, now I've got to get this right, DVR5U. That's the one we want. We can actually superimpose this onto the map with Navigraph so we get to see it. So there's the plate of the standard instrument departure, so we'll add that to our route, which actually draws that in now. So if we go and scoot down to the other end, so there's Geneva, we are going to come in on runway 04, so we'll add that to our route, and we are going to have a look at the approaches. So we want ILS for runway 4, so we'll go for that one and add that to our route. And the arrivals, so the standard approach route that we will use to get there, will be DJL2N, that one. So we can have a look at that on the map. So if we superimpose it, you can see it draws the line in for us, and we can add that and it will get rid of all the others that are drawn in. So it's not too obvious on Navigraph actually what we're doing here. So it hasn't actually drawn in the route as nicely as Little Nav Map does it. So it's quite interesting, isn't it? So let's go and do this anyway. So let's just make sure, looking in Little Nav Map, what we're actually seeing here. So if we go into use Navigraph for navaids, so it is working. Okay. So we're going to remove that diagram off the map for the moment. So I was going to put some VORs in along the way, CMB and CAV. So the easy way to find them is to come up here and do CMB, Cumbrae, and there it is. So what we can do, we know we want to do it after the Dover VOR, so if we click on it and right click, we can add it to our route. Actually no, that's going to do the coordinate, isn't it? We want to click on the VOR itself. There we go, VOR, add that to the route after Dover, add, and that will do that. And the other one was the Cumbrae one, which is CAV, so we go CAV, And there it is, the Chalons VOR. So again, we've got the information panel here. We can add it to our route, and we want it to be after the Cambrai one. So there we go. And it's done it. So now we've got our route programmed into Navigraph. I'm not sure we'll actually use it while we're en route, but it's handy to have it there. Okay, we go back to the flight page. That gives us all the details of everything we've just seen. We're not going to bother with any alternatives or anything like that. Okay, let's go and jump inside the aeroplane. It's actually getting dark, so we ought to get a move on. Right, first thing we do in the BAE 146 is press Control 7, which gives you this overhead view. We go and turn the batteries on. While we're up here, let's go and turn some lights on so we can actually see what we're doing. We'll also scoot down in the cockpit down here, and we'll turn on the backlighting of all the instruments and the flood down here. And I'm trying to remember where. Here we go. I knew they were somewhere nearby. There should be some on the co-pilot side as well, which we can spin these round. There we go. So we at least have some lighting in the cockpit, which is better than no lighting in the cockpit. Okay. So we got the batteries on already, which has allowed us to go and switch the lights on. So then we go to outside lighting. So we're telling people outside that we're starting to do things. So nav light goes to high int, no smoking goes to auto, cabin emergency goes to armed, which is the center position of the rocker switch. On the far left, we're going to set the yaw damper master 1 and 2 to on, which is over here. Autopilot master on, avionics master A and B to on. Anti-skid and lift spoilers far left in set, so that's this section here. Anti-skid goes to on. Lift spoilers yellow and green go to on. Done. I'm following a paper checklist, by the way. I will put a link in the live stream a bit later on, with a link to go and download it yourself. Got a comment in the live stream. Aviation with Elliot says hi. Hello back to Elliot. Overhead. So Control 7. Bus tie AC and DC to auto. So they are down here. Standby inverter and standby generator to armed. That's these two. APU generator to on. So you have to click this twice to make it go on. Okay. Fuel pumps left inner to on. The reason for doing this one is this provides the fuel for the APU. So in the APU section now, on the third column, master switch to start. So there's the APU start, sorry, is up here. That's the actual engine start switch. This is the APU start switch. We now have to wait for APU available to light up. So if we go and look outside, you'll probably be able to hear it. You can see the heat pouring out of the APU. So if you've never seen one of my videos before where I explain things, the APU is a small jet engine in the tail, and it provides electrical power to the aircraft. The BAE 146 has electrical starters for the engines. It doesn't require compressed air, so APU power is now available. Okay. Where are we? Emergency lights have to go to armed. Control 4 takes us to the aft console. Yaw damper to on. So I'm going to remember where things are now. So there's the yaw damper button. That goes to on. And then we go and switch on the oxygen on either side. So we're just arming it basically. We're not actually starting to pump oxygen. So you need to be careful which one you press here. That's the arm switch. Overhead panel. Back to the overhead panel. Center tank transfer to auto. Is that? Ice protection on the fourth column. Ice detector on. That's the one underneath the cover. So that goes to on. And we can close the cover back on it. Back on the main panel, we can click on this flip chart, which will pre-program the reference speeds on the indicated airspeed. We can go and turn the flight directors to on. There's switches on each side of the cockpit which does the flight director. You saw the needles move. If you're not sure what that means, the flight director is the system that actually tries to read the plan that you program into the management computer, so it knows what it wants the plane to do next. If you turn the autopilot on, it's doing what the flight director is telling it to do. And it's obviously it's indicated. The control inputs required are indicated by the crosshairs moving around. Nav 1, press to on and turn the knob on. So here's the Nav 1 instrument. So we press the on button and it lights up, and we turn it to on here for the DME. Okay, so it's lit up and working. Front pedestal. Com radios have to go on, so there's that one and that one. That's com 1, com 2. Set up the FMC nav radios and so on. Okay, so this is the FMC. So have I got a closer view of it? I don't think I have I? This is as close as we get. So we do position initialization. It's a dumbed down FMC. This is actually a retrofitted flight management computer from the working title mod for the CJ4. They've borrowed it. So Pete Bevington has just commented in the live stream, just got the BAE 146 and following your excellent document to start the various videos. All been very helpful. Yeah, I'm following it myself. So I don't remember these things because I don't do them often enough on the same aeroplane to do it by memory. And I always think doing it by memory is a bit dangerous anyway. So we can pick this up and drop that in. That's done. I don't know if you can put a reference airport in here. We'll try it. EGLC. I can't remember if it works or not. No, it doesn't. So we go next page. Has it got anything else in here? It's just got the GPS coordinates. So that doesn't actually work. It's kind of a massively dumbed down version of it. So we go into flight plan. And we can put EGLC in as our origin. And we can put in LSGG as our destination. That gives us a total distance. It's going to be quite a long route actually. Take about an hour and a half maybe. There's nothing else we really need to do here. So then we can go to the legs page. And we can start programming. We can go departure and arrivals. So we're leaving runway 09 from EGLC. We're doing the DVR5U standard instrument departure. So I've just selected it. There you go, it's selected it, and execute that. Go back to departure arrivals. We have to use the index page here. And then into Geneva. Normally you wouldn't do this until you're in flight and talking to ATC, but we're not using ATC tonight, so we're going to program it all straight in. So we're going to approach runway 04 on the ILS using the DJL2N. So ILS for 04, and then obviously we can't see it, so we can go next page. And DJL2N is the standard approach route we're going to use. We're not going to bother with transitions. And there we go. We can look in legs now and everything will mostly be programmed in. We should get a discontinuity in the middle, and we do. So that's at the end of the standard instrument departure and the beginning of the standard approach route. It doesn't know what to do in the middle, so we'll tell it. We're going to go to CMB, which we will select, and it will probably get a duplicate. There it goes. So we can identify these via the country code, and obviously LF is France, so that's good. And then after CMB, we want to go to CAV, C-A-V. So we'll put it on top of DJL, which will force it down. And again, there are many, but the one in France is LF, is the region. And we can execute that change now. Our flight plan essentially is done. Like I said, this is very dumbed down. It hasn't got a lot of the stuff in it. You can't really program. Well, I suppose you could go and program speeds and stuff in here, but we're not going to bother. We'll just fly it manually. Okay, so we want to look at the master control panel now before we get going. So we're taking off runway 9, so we'll go and set the heading knob here. So when we spin this, you'll see the marker move on the compass. So we're going to go and preset it so we've got no surprises on the runway to 09. We're going to set our target altitude to climb out. We're going to go straight for 25,000 feet. Actually, no, let's do this to 10,000 feet first, because we know we have to hold 250 knots until 10,000 feet and then we climb out. It's a good point, actually. Where we've put the route into Navigraph, we will get the data on the airfield. Has it got the transition height in here? It'll be in here, wouldn't it? Transition altitude is 6,000 feet. So we hold the accurate QNH, or barometric pressure. So let's go and find out what that is. We can cheat and use little nav map to do this. So if we go and hover over London City, we can do this in Navigraph as well, actually. We get a QNH of 1013. So at the moment it's on 1015. So we can tune this back to get... The other way to do this is if you do know the altitude of the airfield, you just turn the knob until the altitude's correct. So don't know if you knew that. Gumper Van Leer has just said, I just purchased this plane, it was on sale. Watched a few of your videos on it. Yeah, it's very unique. I actually really love it because it's that kind of in-between time of when aircraft was starting to become digital. And it's interesting, actually, in the tablet you can turn the flight computer off completely. But, you know, it actually suits being flown manually because of the instruments and the hardware it does have on board. Where are we? So we've set the barometric pressure, and I think it does both at the same time. Yeah, that's the same over there as this one, which is good. We were going to set our altitude, which we've done. Actually, I'm going to lighten the... So otherwise it's going to become difficult for you to see. I'm going to wind time back a little bit because I'm taking so long to do this. It takes ages when you explain things, doesn't it? I think we're good to go. So we can also go and set the course, I guess, to 90 degrees, but we're not going to be using the course until we get into the air, really. But it means we haven't got such a disparate angle to tune it across. Because we're going to be using GPS, we need to switch on our nav here. If you don't have that on, it won't follow a GPS track, which is what we've programmed into here, essentially. If you have it on nav, it's looking for the nav radios. Right, so we've done the nav radios, we've done the master control panel, we've done the flight management computer. So back overhead, we turn the seatbelt sign to on. And can I remember where it is? Here it is. We go and turn the beacon light on overhead. Again, so that's telling the ground crews we're about to start the engines. If we go and see where we are. So at this point, we would go and remove the chocks and get a pushback. So let's go and do that. So I haven't got any add-ons to steer me during pushback, so we'll see how we get on with this. So to remove the chocks on this one, you go into the aircraft tab and you can remove the chocks here. And then if we go and look outside, we can press Shift and P. And, oh look, a tug has appeared out of nowhere. Is he actually going to move? He is now. So I don't think it will hook up in the right place on the aircraft, but we'll see. I just realised the air brake is stuck open. I guess that's because I haven't switched the hydraulics on yet. Just waiting for the tug to sort his life out. I don't think he's going to do it, is he? I just told this tug twice to do this. Oh, he's actually going to do it this time, I think. After scraping his bumper on the wall. Looking a bit misty in London, isn't it? It's a very cold night here tonight. So I imagine I'm only about 30 miles outside of London. So we'll just wait for him to push us back. So all we're looking for is some turning room. As soon as we're pushed away from the building, we'll switch the engines on. It's quite cramped here at London City. I'll take the parking brake off, then we'll actually go back quickly. Where do you get this plane from? You can get it from the marketplace, I think, but I bought it from Just Flight, who are the original developers. So that's probably enough room, and we'll put the parking brake back on. So now we are going to busy ourselves with starting the engines. So before we do that, we need to go and turn all of the fuel pumps on. And then overhead, we turn the start master to on. And we go through each engine in turn now, and we hit the start button. And if you look down here, you'll see the N1 is coming up for engine number 1. When it gets to 20, we can scoot over here and hit the start switch for engine number 4. Sorry, did I say engine number 1 a moment ago? We're starting engine number 4, that's N1, which is the gas turbine speed. So what will happen when it comes up to speed, these lights will go out because the automatic ignition system will switch off. So we're just waiting for engine number 4 to come up to speed. There we go. So now we can go to engine number 3 and start engine number 3 in exactly the same way. And you'll see the N1, the gas turbine percentage, increase for engine number 3. Internet is asking, is this available for Xbox yet? I don't know, is the answer to that. Somebody else on the live stream might know. And the lights are going to go out soon, hopefully. Actually, if we keep an eye on the N1 numbers, we'll know 80, 90, 100. Oh, there we go. So, engine number 2, start engine number 2. We're looking for the N1 speed. Okay, so engine number 2. I just thought I've got the wrong control configuration. Before we do anything with the engines, it's a good job I spotted it actually. I need to set this to 4 engines on my yoke, not my yoke, on my control quadrant. I've got a 4 engine configuration somewhere which just maps the 2 left engines to one lever and the 2 right engines to the other lever. Apply, go back, resume. Okay, it should behave itself now. And we're now just doing engine number 1 and start. So here comes the N1 numbers. Okay, so start engine number 1. Yeah, there you can see the N2 numbers are the turbofan speeds. So just to explain that, if we look outside, there's two parts to the jet engine. Down the middle of the jet engine is the gas turbine. You can probably see it from behind if you look carefully. Oh no, you can't in this light. But down the middle is the gas turbine, and then that drives it's like a windmill. The hot air coming out of the back drives a windmill that's connected to the big fan at the front, and that's the thing that actually provides most of the thrust. Okay, there we go. So engines are up and running. So press Control 7 again. So we've done all of them. So then we switch this back to 0, turn the master start system off. We turn generators 1 and 4 to on, which are here. On and on. Packs 1 and 2 go to on. Engine air far right all goes to on. So on. You can hear the pressure going through the system now. Control 8, brake fans to auto. That's over here. Hydraulics, first column pumps 2 and 3 to on. So it's on and on. So the engines that are now running, 2 and 3, the centre 2 engines, provide the pressure for the hydraulic systems. There you go, look, so it's coming up to pressure. You can see the PSI needles climbing. We're getting there, onto the last page. Control 7, ice protection. So that's the 4th column. We are going to turn all the heaters on, apart from the battery one. Okay, although, well, actually, yeah, you can put it in the middle setting. We're ready to taxi. So we're going to go and check the lights and the flaps. So flaps go to takeoff position, which I've just done with the lever. And go and check the lights. So we've got we can put the logo light on. We don't need the entry light on. With the nav lights are on, we'll put the strobes on when we get to the runway. Actually, let's do it now because we've already pushed back. So strobes are on, and we put the landing lights to on as well to light up the world around us. Come off the parking brakes, and we should have a small amount of positive thrust, and we have. So we can ease the engines forwards. So Leo Aviation has said, do I use VATSIM? I have done in the past, I haven't done for a while. It doesn't play well with talking things through on YouTube videos. But I often do flights with a group that do ATC, which is all a bit more relaxed, and I have more time to do that. My big enemy at the moment is time, to be honest. Okay, we're going to taxi straight out onto runway 09. You will have noticed possibly that I haven't done many videos recently. It's just because I haven't had time with work commitments and everything else. So there's the runway at London City, runway 09. So we're going to do a few things quite quickly. Oh, that's a good point. I haven't got a button mapped for the autopilot. I've just remembered I had a button to toggle the autopilot, but I had to change that recently for the Airbus A310. So I'm just going to go and program a button to switch the autopilot on and off. So let's go into control options and look at the buttons on the pilot stick. And let's search by input and make sure I've not got anything on it. That's the nose wheel steering, so I'm going to remove whatever was on that. Clear, validate. I'm going to make that button toggle the autopilot now. Search by name. Oops. Oh, you have to... It's a pain in the backside the way that works. Search by name. Autopilot. Toggle. See, I don't want toggle disengage. I want toggle autopilot master, I imagine, is the one I'm after. Let's try it. Validate. Apply. Go back. Resume. Okay, so we're ready to roll. We'll soon find out if that's the right key. So what we're going to do, I've hit maximum throttle at the moment. We're going to go and turn on the thrust modulation system and go for max continuous thrust, which means the aircraft will safely hold the maximum thrust it can manage.
V1, rotate.
Rotate.
V2. Positive rate.
Gear up. Flaps up. Just trim it slightly, and have I got the right button? No, I haven't. That's not doing it. So let's go and have a look. What is the button we need? I'd completely forgotten about this. So, oh, actually no, I'm using the wrong button. There we go. Yes, come on. Good. So then we can go to vertical speed mode, which is somewhere around here. There it is. Which will hold whatever the climb rate is we've got at the moment, and then we'll go for lateral navigation mode. So it should now follow the flight plan. So it's turning left. So if we go and have a look, we've overshot slightly. So let's go and turn vertical speed off and get this thing climbing. So we're looking at the vertical speed here. That's good. We'll hold that at 2,000 feet a minute until we get out of London. Yeah, so we accelerated a bit too hard where I was messing around with the autopilot button. But we're coming back on track. We've just made the S-bend a little bit late, that's all. But in order for this to happen, remember I had to have this set to RNAV on here for it to follow the standard instrument departure that's programmed in. Should we get rid of this out of the way? You can click on this little, oh no, that's that one. Click on this lever and it makes the goat go away so you can see what you're doing. Okay, so we're climbing up. So we can open the engines back up now. So going back to maximum continuous thrust. In fact, let's go for sync mode now, so we can actually control the engines. And balance the speed on the way out. So we're just holding it just below 250 knots. Let's come off the engines a little bit. Let's have a look outside while we're climbing out. Whoa, look at that fog bank across London. Keep down that speed, we're creeping up to 250 knots. We're coming out across the River Thames. Let's go and have a look. So if you have a look on the map now, you'll see it's turning. It's not following it exactly. It'd be interesting to see what it's doing in terms of... Yeah, it's not following it exactly on Navigraph either, which is kind of interesting. Let's close that and zoom in. It's going straight for Detling. Okay, so we've gone through 6,000 feet now, so we can go and set the barometric pressure back to 2992, which we've now done. We're also coming up towards 10,000 feet, at which point we can increase speed. So we'll go back to maximum continuous thrust as soon as we get through 10,000 feet, at which point we're allowed to go faster than 250 knots. Okay, there we go. So we go on the thrust modulation system to maximum continuous thrust, and you'll see the throttles have gently, well, you can hardly see it happening, the throttles will have gently moved all on their own. In fact, actually no, they don't, do they? The servos can manipulate the engines to within a few percent of where you've put the levers. If they can't move them far enough, like number 3 there, look, let's see if I can cause it to happen. If I was to pull this miles away, yeah, look, there you go. It means it can't attain the thrust on engine number 3 unless the lever's in the right kind of area. And it's now gone back off again, look. So we're climbing out, just accelerating past 250 knots. As the air gets thinner, we will have to come off the vertical speed a bit, so we'll come off it now and pull this back down with trim to about 1500 feet a minute. Then we re-engage vertical speed at the speed we want to be climbing at. So there we go, there or thereabouts is good. And you'll see obviously we're accelerating now because we're not climbing as hard. If you go and have a look at the map, you can see we are just about to leave London behind, so let's have a look outside for a moment. It's quite cool, doesn't it? The River Thames snaking off into London. It has got this radar, but it doesn't actually work, or it didn't used to. I don't know whether that's been changed at all. But I guess there's no rain in front of us, so it's not going to see it, is it? Unless it's supposed to show other aircraft as well, so if we were to increase the range, I don't know if it would show anything or not. I don't think it works. But the rest of the plane works. Okay, so we're coming up towards 300 knots. Let's go back to sync mode. So I pulled it to 93%. We'll keep an eye on the indicated airspeed. I think it's still climbing if you watch it very carefully. Yeah, it is. Just. So maybe we'll be okay. But obviously once we get to... Oh, we didn't set a target on the altitude. That was a bit naughty, wasn't it? So let's go and set our climb ceiling to 25,000 feet, and we'll actually arm it this time so it stops climbing when it gets there. Luckily we were on top of everything, but yeah, my bad. While we're flying along, why don't we have a play with the nav radios? 11495, of course they're not going to do anything though, because this is in FMS mode, or sorry, it's in GPS mode. 11495, but at least it'll give us the DME. 11495, we've tuned that, so yeah, you can see 19 miles to go. Obviously the horizontal situation indicator here is not using it, so what we would want to be doing is say 106 degrees on our course. So if we were to change this to 106, if I could actually control the mouse. If we were to switch this back now to nav, you can see we're almost on that line, so it's switched back and it's actually using it now. So notice though, when we switch that switch, it switched off LNAV. Yeah, so it won't now, that won't now work. We would have to use VOR lock, yeah, which we can do. And the plane will go gently right, look, to reacquire the VOR, you know, the course into the VOR that we've asked for. Maybe we should do this on the way then. We'll fly from VOR to VOR until we get to the other end. Got a bit of a crosswind going on. Oh, the sim has now paused on us. Hopefully it will unlock itself. Yeah, it's just unlocked itself. It's good. So as you can see, there's a crosswind going on, so it's weaving a little bit to hold against the crosswind. The wind is gusting. See the same stuff on Navigraph probably. Yeah, you can see there's a slight offset on the angle of the aeroplane. Just coming through 21,000 feet. And we've got 7 miles or 7.5 miles to go until the VOR. We're just watching the DME tick down. We could actually go and put the next one in. So the CMB is 112.6. So let's go and switch that on. I didn't actually switch on nav2, did I? What do we say the frequency was? 112.6. And the angle towards it is 128 degrees. So the nav2 course is 128. So all we're going to do is, when this ticks down, we're 4 miles away now, 3.8. Oh look, we haven't got a range for it though. So what we're going to have to do is go 128 degrees on the heading. Yeah. We've just gone over the top of the VOR, so we're going to go to heading hold mode. We've just noticed that oh, actually no, it is working. It's counting down. That's interesting. It's not giving us the bearing yet. So let's have a look on little nav map, because this can cheat and tell us some things. What is the range of this station? 80 miles. And we're 88 miles away from it. So in a few miles time, hopefully this will light up. So we're using nav2, but it hasn't lit up. It is calculating ground speed. So when we get to be 8 miles away from that one, you would imagine this one would burst into life. But we're right on the limit of its range. See what happens. So we're going through 8. It's not an exact science, so we'll wait and see what happens. We're just coming up to 24,000. There it goes, it's just lit up. 79 miles to go. There we go, it's working. So then we can go to VOR lock. Sorry, VOR lock, but we'll make it chase nav2. If you have split mode on, it means you can use them independently. But the autopilot will follow nav1. If you switch to nav2, you see the same readout on both, but it's using the setting for nav2. So it's just backtracking slightly. Where we were off to one side, where we flew over the top, it's coming back in to reacquire the 128 degree line, because we have a course set of 128 degrees. Yeah, so straightened up now, and the plane will turn left again in a moment. when the needle lines up. So it's chasing the horizontal situation indicator. When that gets near the middle, you can see, there we go, look, the flight director is telling the plane to turn left and then to stop rolling, to start rolling the other way gently. It's very clever. So the autopilot is remarkably dumb. It does whatever the flight director tells it to do. So we can leave the engines at 96% by the look of it. They're in sync mode, so it's synchronizing the speed regardless of the throttles being slightly different than each other. Notice, even though the HSI is matching, the DME for nav1 and nav2 is still independent. So we can see there's the nav1 distance measuring equipment, there's the nav2. So obviously as one, oh, we've gone over speed, let's go in. The wind must have turned slightly. So let's go and throw the brakes out quickly. There we go. I just feathered the air brakes to get the needle to come back a bit. Back to 80% just to let the speed bleed off slightly. So yeah, as we were saying, as we move away from the previous beacon, we're getting closer to the next beacon. So at this point, we should have done this ages ago actually, we can go and turn the landing lights can come off. They should have gone off at 10,000 feet. And we can also go and turn the strobes off. We don't need it on. And they're just flying along. Actually, yes we do. What am I talking about? We leave the strobes on. It's the landing lights. Sorry. You can tell I'm rusty, can't you? I've not been flying for a little while. Hey, they put the contrails back in. They disappeared for a while, didn't they? There were no contrails in the sky. And they're back now. This could do with a clean, couldn't it? Whoever cleaned this screen needs firing. It's got scour marks all over it. So waiting game now until we get to the next waypoint. So we're on our way to this VOR and then we carry on down. So I'm going to go make a coffee, and to get us to follow the route while I'm not here, I'm going to switch this back to RNAV mode and make it follow the GPS track, which is busy been doing down here. So if we go to the legs page, we can see where we are so far. Look, so we're en route to CMB and the distance is counting down. Obviously you don't get a visual representation of it other than the HSI, so it's probably going to gently correct itself to get back on the GPS track. Doesn't help that we got a 40 knot crosswind. It's a good point actually. Although this is obviously wind at altitude, let's go and just double check that this is still okay for coming in on this end. Otherwise we'll be doing some corrections en route. So wind on the ground is 1 knot. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I'll just open the engines up a little bit. Just aware that we're getting a bit slow and the speed is still coming off. 64% is probably about right. Okay, so I'm going to leave this flying along for a bit. I'll pull up Navigraph here over the top so you get to see it. It's this one, isn't it? That one is the GT Henry. Yeah, we're not going to use that. Oh, let's need to sign in. Browse to navigraph.com/code. Navigraph.com. Sign in. Code. Put this in 2TA. That's a bit annoying, isn't it? 2TA C5NEG. That's the one-time use code. Done. So then it wakes up, and the route we are flying should be programmed in, except it isn't. That's interesting. Why has it not got the route? Oh, we found a bug. Because this obviously is the old version of Navigraph. Interesting. We found a bug. Okay, we won't be bothering with Navigraph while we're in the cockpit then. What we can do is go to here, open window layout, and we'll go for the minimal layout that I've prepared earlier. And you get to see where we are along the way. I'll just go and make the taskbar disappear in Windows, automatically hide it. There we go. So we have it on the outside view. You want to see where we're going? So, Gamper Family has said, one thing I like is that you can bypass the MCDU and it will load in your flight plan automatically from the world map. Saves a lot of time. Yeah, but I actually like programming stuff. I'm a software developer in the real world, so this is my wheelhouse is pressing buttons and making things happen. Whoa, the wind just changed. Are we suddenly... That was interesting, wasn't it? I think that's going to annoy me, seeing the stream coming out behind us. We're not actually following the plan, are we? Because obviously I switched, didn't I? Therefore it's not on lateral navigation mode. So easy to make mistakes. Luckily we haven't drifted too far. I keep forgetting that when you switch between navigation radios, like VOR navigation, and GPS, it switches off whatever mode you're on. And they are two separate modes. You've got glide slope lock, you've got VOR lock, and that's your radio modes. And then you've got lateral navigation, which is the RNAV option in the cockpit, just here. Yeah, so we were just on about there's some options in the flight pad, which is quite cool actually. This you can pull up charts and stuff. You can use Navigraph as well, I believe. So we can use SimBrief as well. So in charts we can log in, and it should get our. So if we wanted to pull up, for example, the charts for LSGG, which is where we're going, and we're going to be doing the DJL2N standard approach route. So there it is. So you can see this is the route we'll be coming in, remember? So then we're going to do that and come back in on the ILS. So I guess it's quite cool, and you can play games with showing your position on the map. So when we get closer, we'll be able to actually see that our position on this tablet relative to where we are. What else can this do? We can see a map of where we are at the moment, which is just a normal map. But interestingly, it's not loading the tiles because it's using, I think it's using topo maps, which are notoriously slow. Yeah, it's just to give you a reference of what it's actually using there. Topo maps are, whoops, let me just go and slow us down again. The wind's changed again. Topo maps, if you go into little nav map, open window layout, we'll go back to default. Yes, that's fine. Ooh, it's broken it. Window. What was it we were saying? Topo maps. Okay. No. Oh, they changed it. You've got open stream, open topo map. That's the one I meant. Window. Reese. Is this a bug we found in the beta? There it goes. I think we discovered a bug then. So this is using open topo map, which is the same thing the airplane's using. And you can see that delay. It's sometimes very slow at loading the tiles. You can see it now, look, it's not loading them. See what I mean? It's slowly loading them. It's very, very poor performance, which is why a lot of people hack the system to put Google Maps terrain view in, because then it's very fast. Otherwise, yeah, this is quite cool. You get lots of options in here. You get the operational flight plan if you're using SimBrief, which we're not. So you get some settings to change the way it behaves. Top of descent calculator, we don't need that. We can guess it. And this thing can come down really steeply, which helps. If you wanted to get rid of the tablet entirely, you just click on the little printout on the side of here. You can also make this whole thing vanish somehow. Is it? I know the coffee holder works, doesn't it? Which is ridiculous that it works, but there you go. I've forgotten. Oh, there you go. So you can get rid of that huge big paperwork holder on each side. I'm guessing that's what it's for. Clipping paperwork onto. Yeah, it looks like we've balanced the speed about right then at 82% on the engines. But again, it's going to be dependent on the wind speed. if the wind suddenly turns against us, we'll overspeed. Let's go to Windows, open window layout, minimal, and put this over here. So you can see how far we have to go. Let's put that one. Right, I'm going to go and grab a coffee. I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. So, got about a couple hundred miles to go. There's a common rule of thumb for descending in any sizable kind of jet, which is basically 1,000 foot. How can I describe this in easy terms? Every 3 miles is 1,000 feet of descent. So if you're wanting to lose 30,000 feet, you're looking at 90 miles. Does that make sense? So you can figure out we're only at 25,000 feet. So divide it by 3, and you're looking at not very far at all to descend, really. In fact, if we go and have a look on Little Nav Map, if we reopen this, we can see this on the restrictions as well on the plates. We're going to have a look to waste some time on the way. If we open this back to, or actually go and reset it, Windows, reset to default. Let's go and save this because it was broken, wasn't it? It's probably a slightly different format now. It's a new version of this Nav Map. Save. Window layout as default. Save. Replace it, yes. Okay, so the reason I've done that is if you look in here, it's got the restrictions on the way in. So it wants us above 8,000 feet when we get to here. Yeah? And then above 8,000 feet here, below 220 knots, or below 250 knots there, below 220 knots here, and then above 6,000 feet here, and then you're looking to get on the glide slope from then on in. And you've got a 3-degree glide slope. Okay. So let's go and have a look at that in in Navigraph. Oh, it's Navigraph charts, it just hasn't rendered. There's a few bugs in this, isn't there? So if we go and look at this here, you can see those same restrictions probably. Yeah, above 8,000 feet, above 7,000 feet, so it's slightly different. And then for the final run-in, oh, it hasn't got the ILS. Interesting. Did I not choose it here? Oh, maybe I didn't choose it. Approaches, select. ILS for runway 04. So we'll say that is final, add that to the route. That gives us the ILS. Let me get ILS diagram, which is good for Geneva. So yeah, it hasn't really got any minimums as such. It's got 6,000 feet for the entry point at Belka. Has it got runway elevation up here somewhere? Or anywhere? That's interesting, look. They have rendered onto the charts the username so they can be tracked if you were to illegally share these. Interesting. I've forgotten what I was going to look up now. Oh, the elevation of the airfield. Let's go and I mean, we could get airfield information out of here. So if we go and click on the airport, we can see 1411 feet. That's kind of interesting. I couldn't see that on here. Unless I'm just being... Oh, it's over here. The runway 1411 feet. It's got it on the burn down for doing the approach. How are we doing on the flight anyway? We're well over halfway now. So when we get to DJL, we will begin descending. We will need to be above 8,000 feet at Lurco, sorry, not Durco. It's hidden behind the code there. Above 8,000 feet at Lurco. Okay, so we're looking good. Let's go and see, watch the sun go down. Oh, it's already gone. I'm a bit late. I'm going to turn that tail light off. Wonderfully modelled aeroplane, isn't it? Cities can we see whizzing past underneath? It's not going to be off of our nose. Yeah, there's no major cities anywhere near. Probably won't see much until we get to Geneva, really. It's the middle of nowhere. There's the odd small town, but nothing huge. Yeah, you can see that one down there. Look. Am I being dim, or does this not have any floodlights? I've already missed where they are. Panel flood. With the console flood. It's so long since I've flown this, I've forgotten so much about it. Yeah, that just controls the actual instruments, but it's not the flood for the glare shield. So it calls this the glare shield then, where the master control panel is. Surely there must be a flood for it somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe it's just dark. I mean, things are lit up on it. So it's not, it's not that you can't see things, but it's quite dark. So Flight Master, as I'm guessing it's a question to say IVAO or VATSIM. I would always use VATSIM over IVAO, but that's just because I'm familiar with it. I don't really have a preference. And to be honest, I think it's more fun as a group of people I fly with regularly. Although, saying that, I haven't flown with them the last week or so because I've been too busy. They do ATC within their group, and it is a little bit less formal than VATSIM, which suits me because the time I can devote to it means we can actually have a chat in the middle of the flight and not get told off for it. Okay, whereabouts are we? We're coming up to where we were aiming for top of descent, so should be good. Obviously we can play games with that you can't do in the real aeroplane, but you'd have to do it on paper, obviously. So it's saying here, look, for the absolute, although I've not got the correct aircraft profile, I'm using a CRJ because I haven't bothered making one for the BAE 146 yet. So we'll start descending when we get to DJL. We can actually measure this, so if we say measure distance from VOR, so you've got about 70 miles there. Yeah, so we probably don't need to start descending actually then until we get to GG517, thinking about it, because we're only coming down sort of 15,000 feet or so, 18,000 feet. We're not going down all the way to the ground. So Flight Master says I'm going to watch how to start the 737-800. It's quite straightforward. It's nice because it's mechanical. You know, the routine you go through with the 737, it all kind of makes sense of what you're doing. Whoa, we've slowed right down. What's going on? 200 knots indicated. The engines had cut back. I don't remember doing that. No wonder we're not making much progress. Let's open the engines up and get some speed back. So we can play some games here. We'll go and tune in this VOR. So 111.45. Yeah, this is the problem. If we have this so dark, unless somebody knows where the control is for this, to make it easy so you can see what I'm doing, rather than fumbling around in the dark, we're going to alter the time. 11145. Oops. And the course into it should be 155 degrees. Okay, so if we split that back and then do that and then do that, glide slope lock would be good. Why is it not letting me have glide slope lock? Oh, sorry, it's VOR lock, isn't it? I'm losing my mind slowly. Of course, the advantage of playing with the time in Flight Sim is you get to watch a pretty sunset as many times as you want. You just see the sun peeking out there behind those clouds. Anyway, we are on VOR lock. Looks like I've got my thought processes straight. We're 46 miles away from the beacon. So it's just getting back onto the track. See, there we come. So we may even be able to see it in Navigraph now if we go back to the... Oh, we're just off the chart at the moment, which is a shame. If we go and overlay this here though, we can see it. That's interesting though, look. This one doesn't have my name on it. Was it only that one? That's got it there, look. That's to do with the wind, isn't it? The overspeeding. So I'm throwing the air brakes out. There's some strangeness going on with the wind. So we're running at 79%, and bizarrely now, look, we're just hovering below 300 knots. So what does... Yeah, we've got a headwind of 36 knots. So I think the weather data is quite severely moving around. 30 miles to go to the VOR. Shouldn't take too long. The wind has kicked in again. Look, there's something very strange going on with the weather this evening. Yeah, at 90% now, it's only just holding 250 knots. So what's it doing in terms of, okay, 52 knot side wind, so it's, yeah, it's, the wind is moving around enormously. I think we're on the edge between two different measuring areas. Hopefully when we descend it's not going to be anything like as bad. Okay. $17 to the VOR. Should we switch back to lateral navigation, then we don't even have to think about it. So we want lateral nav mode, so we're not using the VOR anymore for directional control. It's now following the routes, so we can see now at Lurco we need to be above 8,000 feet, so we'll go for 8,500 feet for Lurco. We zoom in like this, you can see that on the elevation plot, so there you go. We're at 25,000. So we need to be above 8,000, so 8,000 is way down here. So we really don't need to worry until we get to GG503. Yeah, and if you look on the map here, when we move along here, you see it's the corner before we turn back towards the airfield. So we can judge this quite easily. And the air brakes on the 146 are so powerful, you can actually come down quite steeply if you need to. Just so we may as well do this for a bit of fun, to kill some time on the way. Yeah, we're overspeeding again. So let's go and set our target altitude to 8,500. Actually, no, let's go for 10,000, because then we know we have to get to 250 knots at 10,000 feet. So there we go, 10,000 feet is armed, and we will trim it ever so gently to come down at 1,000 feet a minute. Just trying to get the needle to stay there, just tweaking it very gently. There we go. So vertical speed is locked at 1,000 feet a minute, so we are descending now. So over the next few minutes you can see the projected line, which is quite good. It's probably not quite steep enough, but it's good enough for the moment. In terms of the actual map, we'll be on Navigraph now. Here we go, we've appeared on the chart and we're coming in. So the route we're actually taking is through these waypoints and then in to the ILS, which is detailed here, which is 44 degrees 110.9. So we can go and prepare that now actually, because remember we're using GPS navigation, so we want 110.9 and 44 degrees, so 110 90. And where was it? 44 degrees. So the course should be 44. We'll do the same for nav 2, just for completion's sake. This is really force of habit on things like the Boeing and the Airbus. You can have dual mode on the autopilot. And, I mean, this has got glide slope lock, so it will do essentially the same as approach mode. And we want 110.9. We may as well go and put it in. But again, we're flying on RNAV mode, which is using the GPS. So let's see how this descent is going on the plot. So it's looking pretty good actually, isn't it? Obviously we'll appear on that chart much later on. So we're just coming in on the standard approach route at the moment. We will need to decelerate when we get down to 10,000 feet, but to dip below 10,000, and that's at the point we need to get to 250 knots. So Ezekiel is saying, I got the game yesterday, still struggling to play. There's a lot to learn. You won't get it straight away. It takes a long time. And each plane takes a while. Obviously the more aeroplanes you see some common factors between them, but the actual functionality within the cockpit, especially with the accurate ones, you have to learn each individual aircraft really. That's kind of what I find fascinating, so to see how the different systems work. Okay, let's go and expedite this descent a little bit. So I'm going to pause what was back. Switch off vertical speed mode. I'm going to push this down to 1500 feet a minute. And see how we go. This is looking better. So then we get time to slow down when we get to 10,000 feet. So we'll hit this line, coast, and then come down again. Obviously we'll be respecting the altitudes on the standard approach route. So let's go and have a look at the airport information for Geneva. Does this give us the transition altitude is 7,000 feet then for Geneva? It's interesting how the layout's always slightly different on these charts, isn't it? So you don't need to worry until we get down to 10,000. Starting to descend further, then we need to tune in the QNH at the destination. And we can find that out by opening the airport for Geneva, and we can find out the weather at Geneva. And there's there you go, QNH 1015, which is 2997 hectopascal. Sorry, 1015 hectopascals, 2997 inches. HG's mercury. So in the US they tend to use inches, in Europe they use hectopascals. We're down to 250 knots, which is quite fortuitous. We just opened the throttles a little bit to arrest our deceleration. Might wind the time back a little bit as well to make it nicer to see what, so you actually get to see something on the way in. Okay. Chocolate box picture. Have a look at that descent. Yep, still looking good. Just a bit, get a decent view of it. Don't need that in the display at all, which is good. Coming down through 13,500 feet, just above 250 knots at the moment. So we're just going to edge the throttles back a little bit. We have lateral navigation mode on, we are locked on vertical speed, armed with an altitude of 10,000 feet on a QNH of 2992 or 1013 in hectopascals, so we're looking good. Coming down towards 12,000 feet, speed is a little bit quick still, so let's pull the throttles back. We're not going to have great visibility, so we're going to have to follow the instructions. So let's have a look at this one. Whoops. So max 250 knots at SOVAD, 220 knots at GG503. Okay. So we're just losing some speed, we're just going to expedite that. So I'm just extending the air brake momentarily just to get the indicated airspeed to 250. And the sim has paused there momentarily. I wonder why that was. And we're still descending. So we're going to go and set the speed now. Sorry, 7,000 feet is our next decision point to go and set the QNH. So we need to find out what the QNH was. It's 1015 at the destination airfield, which will calibrate the altimeter so it's accurate basically. But we've got a few thousand feet to go yet. So we're now going to descend for 7,000 then. And let it continue descending down. It's still armed for 7,000. We are below 10,000 feet now, so the landing lights come on. Very pretty out there, isn't it? Okay, so we need to be above 7,000. Okay, so we'll set this for 7,500. Or maybe 8,000. I'm just getting a bit worried about these hills. Descended a bit too quickly. Which is obviously, if you get within 1,000 feet, it's dangerous in terms of the real world, which is why you can see it wants us above 7,000. I mean, we've still got several thousand feet above this hill, so I'm not too worried. So we need to be down to 220 knots though now. Yeah, we're heading down towards GT503. So we maintain this altitude.
2,500.
So that was the radio altimeter underneath the aircraft. Was measuring 2,500 feet below the aircraft to the hill. So we're just coming down to 220 knots. So Trippy Lummox has said, I've been eyeballing this jet, haven't gotten it yet. Now you are tipping the scales. Loving your vids. Thank you very much. So let's keep an eye on this. So we're just coming down still 8,000 feet. We're holding 8,000 feet and we will continue to do so. We've got the ILS already programmed, remember, so as soon as we come off of RNAV to nav mode, we should see the ILS light up. So let's come down again to 7,500 feet. So to actually affect the descent, we tune the trim. Also, we have to arm it, don't we? So we can tune the trim to come down just gently. 500 feet a minute, we should do it. Vertical speed. See where we are. So max 220 knots when we get here. We're at exactly 220 knots now. It's looking good. Let's have a look from outside. So you can see why you need to follow procedures. With this weather and these hills and this cloud, yeah, this could be dangerous otherwise. Okay, let's have a look at the chart. So we're just coming up to GT503. So then the plane will do a left turn. We can look at that in little nav map as well. It'll be interesting to see if it's going to go. We can actually figure this out, what the next waypoint's going to be. There's GG503, then Vector. Oh, there's a discontinuity. Good job we looked. So where is it going after that? Belka. So we want to put Indis in place. So INDIS. Ooh, it doesn't know what it is. That's why it's not there. So let's close up that discontinuity. Oh no, it's done it. Okay, let's do that. Oh, it's because there's a vector. Okay, so we may do this by hand. Okay, let's go to heading mode. We're doing a 90-degree left turn. Let's just quickly check the chart. So we're still at 7,000, above 7,000, which is absolutely fine. In fact, what we could do is keep this turn going and come into the ILS. So let's go and turn that back to nav mode, which will make this all make sense now. Let's turn this straight towards the runway direction. Yeah, we're going to be off to... Let's do this. Give it ourselves 25 degrees or so, or 20 degrees. Intercept course to pick up the localizer. Okay, so we're levelling out. We are above the beam already, so we're going to come off the...
Autopilot disconnected.
Let's fly it in by hand, which is fine. Okay, just going to centre the view up so we can see what I'm doing. So what we're doing now is following the glide slope, basically. So we're 16 miles out. We've got ages to do this. So we're just trekking sideways. This is already tuned in, by the way, so remember we set 44 degrees, which is the ILS direction. Here comes the beam. So we'll do a left turn in a moment to centre it up. We're getting higher and higher, though we should be coming down more steeply. Just putting some air brakes out to manage the speed as we descend back down towards the glide slope. So all we're looking at now is this. So we're a little bit off to the right, so we can correct that. There's the runway. We're a little bit off to the right, so we'll just correct for that. We're a little bit above the glide slope, but that's fine. Okay.
Speed checked below 205. Select flaps 18.
Okay, flaps
2500.
Air brakes can come back off. Putting some elevator trim in because the flaps are kicking the nose up. Pretty much on the glide slope now. There's no point using the autopilot from here, we can see the runway. Increasing thrust slightly. There's a bit of a crosswind, isn't there? It's kicking us to the right. We have to crab ever so slightly on the way in. As we come to about 160, 150, it will ask for more flaps.
2,500.
Or not, as the case may be. It'll slow down drastically then and let it ask for more flaps.
Speed checked below 180. Select flaps 24.
So flaps down further. Getting a bit low on the glide
Speed
slope.
checked below 170. Select flaps 30.
Done. Back on the glide slope.
Speed check below 145. Select flap 33.
Done. So we're on full flaps now. Quite a long runway here, so this is fairly straightforward. Don't really have to worry too much. We're still off to the right. I'm just going to correct for that now. That's looking better.
1,000.
Oh, the sim just stuttered really badly. And again. And again. I think it's loading assets in on the ground. Yeah, it's loading stuff and it's stuttering really badly as it does so. So just keeping an eye on the glide slope, but obviously we're visual now, so it's not a problem.
$50, $40, $30, $20, $10.
Ground idle.
And we're down.
Brake pressure seen.
There goes the lift spoilers, so the top of the wings have just arched up into
80
the air.
knots. 60 knots.
We're not going to make that turn, it's a shame. Okay, so come off the brakes, lift the flaps, and we'll roll for the next exit. Yeah, I guess the stuttering was it loading all these assets in when we got in the air. There's quite a lot of stuff here, isn't there? A lot of aeroplanes around. And I re-enabled all the mods on Flight Sim, so I've got most of the aeroplane models in, which is why it's having a fit about it. Okay, so we're off the runway, so we can go and turn off the landing lights now. Should we go and park straight ahead over here? Turn the strobes off while we're at it. Control 8, isn't it? Somewhere up here. Strobe, where are you? There you are. Hey, parking brake on. The APU stays on in the 146, so you don't have to worry so much about turning the engines off, so you can just
Cabin crew, doors to manual and cross check.
switch them off. And there we go. Obviously we could go backwards through all the switches now, I'm not going to bother. So there we go. You saw a flight in the 146. We can go and turn the beacons off, I guess. So, beacon off. Nav light stays on while we're in here. But yeah, obviously you just go around switching things back off, avionics and pumps, fuel pumps, all the rest of it. So it's not rocket science really. Remember, you have to leave the left inner pump on to keep the APU running. But yeah, I'm not going to do all of that today. Okay, hopefully you found that interesting. There's a couple of little mistakes along the way where I forgot to do things in time where I was busy talking. Or the one where I kept saying, why isn't the glide slope lock working when I meant the VRY lock? Anyway, that's just rustiness. But there's always something to learn, isn't there? It's if not about the aeroplane, about procedures and things like that. There's always things you could improve, and it's interesting. One of the guys I know through Virtual Flight Online got to sit in the cockpit of an A320 recently, and he said it was a bit of an eye-opener because just watching the professional crew going about their job, he said they were flying the aeroplane as a labourer might drive a tractor. It was so natural to them, you know, where everything was and what they were doing. They were just going through the motions. Obviously they were tremendously professional about it, but there was no real, you know, oh, how do I do this? It was just natural all the time. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see you again soon.